anytime we're in a crisis and we're on a hockey stick going upwards, no one can predict the future. So you start thinking in terms of scenarios.
Welcome, Jay McBain. Thank you for popping on and joining me today. Great to have you.
Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So if you're not familiar with Jay and his work, he is the principal analyst at Forrester. I know a lot of us follow and engage with Forrester research, and he does amazing work. So I am happy to have you on and just help be a guiding voice.
Absolutely. And for those of us on social media, on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter, there's been a flood of opinions. And, anytime we're in a crisis and we're on a hockey stick going upwards, no one can predict the future. So you start thinking in terms of scenarios. And, I hearken back to when the CDC kind of set up 4 scenarios for a coronavirus and, A, B, C, D, and what that means. I wanted to take those back and reflect on what the impact, the quantified impacts would be on the channel, given each of those scenarios. And so we dug back into our research. We're talking to vendors, we're talking to distributors, we're talking to channel partners. We're talking to everyone in the industry that we can get our hands on and really try to drive out what the possible outcomes are here.
Let's talk through that. So the piece of research that you're mentioning, there's also a tag in this video, so definitely check it out. So let's talk through what those scenarios look like. So after you went out and really did a great job of grabbing all of the inputs from every player in this space and in our channel, what was it that what did you find? What are the scenarios that you did derive?
Yeah, I mean, the basic scenario, which I think a lot of people are holding hope to now, is that, we have a pretty hard decline right now, but a bounce back in third quarter and then in fourth quarter. But the bounce back is strong, and we don't start, facing some 2008 headwinds in terms of economic downturn. If that happens, there is going to be obviously short-term revenue shortfalls. Customers aren't spending, they're prolonging, they're postponing, they're stopping. In many cases, their projects. There's some short-term, triage work that the channel's benefiting from, setting up UCaaS systems, selling laptops, putting up VPNs, doing help desk work. But over time, this is going to have a small impact in terms of the channel. We have some, financially struggling companies that, may not be able to weather a few months of no accounts receivable. The serious things start happening if the recovery doesn't happen in third quarter. If we carry through the summer and then go into third quarter without economic growth, and everyone's still hunkered down and we're facing longer term, now we move into a scenario B or scenario C. And for the channel, it gets serious. If you look at the different companies that look at the financials of partners, you'll find that about 25% of them in good economic times struggle to make money, struggle to break even, struggle to even post a profit. And then when times turn negative, the cash flow becomes king. Credit facilities dry up. The government rebate of $1,200 doesn't carry you for much more than a day or so. And, if you go multiple months without cash flow, we get into a more serious situation that could affect upwards of a quarter of the channel.
Absolutely. So, and obviously those scenarios are ones that everyone is hoping don't happen, right? So everyone's hoping that in this term that we're in right now, which again, every day this is changing, no one knows how long this is going to go. So you've got a lot of, I think, triggers and things that people are doing right now out of fear. Other people are really going to market in a different way, but some out of fear, some not, because we don't know what's going to happen. And so talk me through, what you found. Talk me through some of those results and inside of those findings, and what the effects are going to be obviously on the channel given those scenarios.
Yeah, so I would say there's 4 things we know today. I mentioned up front that there's going to be short-term revenue losses. We know that. They're not offset by, some of this triage work. There is some opportunities, I said, in the rough here, as partners have done a wonderful job in terms of helping their customers, helping communities, again, setting up, we found that, Amazon and some of these big marketplaces were depleted of consumer laptops. and getting those consumer laptops to the point where they can get into an enterprise VPN is
Mm-hmm.
not a small task.
No,
Moving
absolutely not.
customers to SaaS and to cloud infrastructures has been an incredible journey over the last couple of weeks. I mentioned UCaaS,
Mm-hmm.
in a couple of examples. Microsoft Teams added 12 million active users last week.
Unbelievable.
And by the way, just for sizing, that's bigger than Slack just in 1 week. And Slack is not slacking. They added
Mm-hmm.
7,000 new customers in the last
Wow.
couple of weeks. You look at Zoom, which is what we're on now,
Yep.
and Zoom has added more clients in the first quarter than they did all of last year.
Unbelievable.
You look at
Yeah.
WebEx, they're running 5.3 billion minutes of meetings a day, almost 3.2 million meetings. So all of the UCaaS companies are just on fire, and the partners that are supporting this have done a great integration work and implementation work to get this going in almost no time. There's been increased help desk services, but that then gets countered by a lot of the projects, bottom of funnel type of opportunities
Mm-hmm.
that have now been put on hold. A lot of the indefinite type of project work that we don't know when customers are going to make those decisions. We've had customers shut down a lot of their buying so that they preserve cash themselves to survive.
Absolutely.
So that's the first and foremost thing. The second thing is the brand, and I know Marketopia is really strong about this, and the world leader in thinking about the branding of a partner. But I'll say that we've gone through a really interesting phase here where I spend a lot of time talking about new buyers and how they buy and their psychology and their behavior and their journey. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the future kind of leads to more marketplace buying and direct and things like that. But during a crisis here, the channel's brand has elevated. They've helped customers. I mentioned they've helped their communities significantly. And it's reminded every business, whether it's the smallest SMB right up to Fortune-sized clients, what local distributed service and support means. When you've got someone down the street, when you've got somebody engaged,
Right.
it is much different than dealing with a 1-800 number that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't connect anymore. And we're dealing with vendors that, perhaps everybody's at home and they don't have the same SLAs. But when your current partner and that what they've done in the last couple of weeks as essential services, and it's just incredible. I think the lasting effect out of this.
It has been truly, yeah, I agree. It has been truly incredible. I want to touch on that piece that you're mentioning about the brand of the channel as an aggregate of everything that is included inside of channel and what it is and how the channel, whether it's vendors, partners, everyone in between has gone out and supported this. I call it an overnight effort. You mentioned overnight as well. I think I smiled when you said that because it has been. I mean, it is remarkable what these companies have been able to do in such a short period of time. So I agree and I applaud. It's one of those things that makes everyone very proud to be a part of the channel, more so than even before, because this is what it's all about. And everyone really stood up and is still remaining, to support in every way that they possibly can. But keep going.
So here's the words, and number 3 is kind of the new channel normal. So here's some of the words that we're hearing from clients. Again, large, medium, small. They're talking about a channel that's agile,
Mm-hmm.
a channel that's responsive, a channel that's cross-functional, a channel that's, kind of changed to the new normal, again, in a matter of days, and to really respond to this fast-moving crisis at a local level
Mm-hmm.
is incredible. So this is kind of the new normal that we're facing. And, in terms of technology, for those customers that are accelerating some of their moves to cloud, some of them are accelerating parts of their digital transformation,
Mm-hmm.
and partners have been there in lockstep. And for some of those partners that haven't been there, that went dark on their customers and things like that, there's going to be ramifications there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to hasten their decline for those that didn't adapt to this new normal.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting point because there's a lot of conversations happening right now about those that did show up, those partners that really are being proactive, those partners that are going out and really supporting and being agile. Now, there hasn't been as much emphasis put on those that maybe haven't been as agile or haven't been able to support their own partner base. And again, I always, any time like this really puts a microscope on the problems that were already there. You mentioned earlier on, some businesses that maybe already had financial issues, maybe didn't have the cash flow that they needed. A lot of times when things are running really well, just like truly anything, you're not really tested until the strain gets put on anything, whether it's a relationship, a business, a partnership, whatever it is. When the strain gets put on, all of the real things start to come out, and the stress is put on those. And if they weren't sturdy enough, it breaks. So if a company wasn't run, correctly, or didn't have the right amount of cash flow, given, a circumstance like this, even though no one could have predicted this necessarily, right? But something that puts a strain on your business that's drastic, what that looks like and how you deal in situations like that. So I think that's really interesting. The partners that weren't agile, you'll see different things happen with them, and then the ones that really are and really do have their stuff together will go and capitalize on, again, just share shift, bringing over a lot of net new clients that they can support better. So I think that's a really interesting point.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the other thing is, right now around the world, we've got hundreds of millions of now home workers, remote workers. And what's interesting is the pendulum may never come fully back. So, people were joking the other day is, now I'm learning what meetings could have been done in an email.
Absolutely.
And what face-to-face could have been done over Zoom. And the pendulum is going to come back. You talk about industry events and you talk about all these things. It's going to swing back, but there may not be 150 channel events next year when it does come back. We're going to start to learn, more digital methods and a new digital normal here. But for partners, when they look at their customer, and when the customer looks at their contract and they start looking at the line items in that managed services contract, and the things that are more on-premises infrastructure based, which makes up about 80% of most managed services contract, are going to be scrutinized. And you see the elevated need for help desk, when people are remote. You're going to see the elevated need for different kinds of services. So you think of security shifts over to edge security, especially with people with consumer devices going through consumer networks to a consumer router, that comes into enterprise data. There's a bunch of work there, web security, data security, two-factor, all these things start hitting there. Whereas a lot of the on-premise network security from the past, starts to loosen up a bit. So there's different vectors, there's different parameters in terms of what the security take is. It doesn't mean that customers might spend less on security, they might spend more, but the practices that you have and the offerings you have may have to shift to this new normal.
And just look
the same goes for support, the same goes for everything on your line card today.
Yeah.
They shift, and these digital transformations, the move to cloud infrastructure faster, all this may shift based on this new normal. And we're learning that today. Is most people, I think, would agree that, it probably won't return to the exact way it was a few months ago.
And I think it's hard to believe it would, right? Any large catalyst, no matter what it is, ends up leaving a mark and ends up changing something, if not a lot of some things. And I think in this case, so much changed so quickly that right now I do believe that so much of the world is still in shock, right? So not even everyone has really adjusted yet. There's still a lot of shock going on, which makes it hard to wrap your head around what could the changes actually be, because everyone is still not acting totally normal in the new normal yet. So it's still an interesting time right now, but I do think that there will be an absolute audit in personal lives, in business scenarios, an audit of what makes sense in New World Order. And back to the point that you made, I mean, I've had countless conversations about what this new digital and virtual world will look like and how much of it will still stick, even when we get back to normal, right? So even when we get back to, being able to go in the office, how many companies will say, you know what, do we really need that brick and mortar office? We did a great job virtually. And, oh, wait, do we really want to approach this differently? And we can do this differently. And it's gotten a lot of businesses and end users, not to mention other industries, right? Schools for that matter. Virtual school has been around for quite some time, but now many children are doing virtual school, and that is their new normal. So I think that there's a lot to be seen moving forward, to your point. And I think that, time will tell, just like anything else, what the long-term changes will be. But I definitely do feel, and I'm having many conversations about the idea and the audits going on about what could change and what people are going to really start taking seriously after this. So talk us through some of the opportunities. If we're an MSP, if we're a vendor right now, talk me through some opportunities that are out there for them.
Yeah, so absolutely. So we started off by talking about the scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to talk about scenario D. I don't think anyone can plan for that. So, we leave that off at this point. But now start thinking about phases. You go through this period of triage where we've been in the last couple of weeks. Again, getting people remote, getting them functional and logged in and using the systems. And, that's not easy. And to do this at the level and scale and pace that it happened is absolutely incredible. But the next phase that we come into, customers start asking for different things. So the level of automation that's now required for things that would have been happened in an office, workflows and business logic and all those things that, are just a given when you have everybody sitting around in cubicles, changes. And, now that you're rethinking the future of work, now you're thinking of the future of automation. What things can be, whether it's a robotic process automation, RPA or BPA or BPO, all these different things. This is something the channel can really jump into to help the customer rethink their future of work. That's number one. Okay. This new remote work has changed the conversation on backup, disaster recovery, continuity, and there's a new conversation there, what that means and where the data should reside and how the, amplification of the cloud comes in here, acceleration of cloud strategies come in here, plays into that. The final and probably the biggest opportunity is working at a business level. And, not only helping your customer survive this, regardless of the phase, but thrive on the tail end of it. That takes analytics, it takes insights, it takes knowing your customer's business. We've kind of always dropped that business advisor and trusted advisor. We've dropped that, but now is the opportunity as we come into the next phase to work hand in hand with the president, owner, CEO, principal of your customers. Start to think about, how they can optimize and become more efficient and how they can really look at survival here and be hand in hand with technology and automation. So that's the largest opportunity as we get into phase two into this, and where the channel will be indispensable to those customers.
Definitely. And I think that piece on helping them thrive is huge. I think that is really going to be the test. And I think that back to the adding credibility to the channel, it's something that goes without question now, right? It's something happened. Everyone was in dire straits. The channel showed up, and now it's about, into your next phases and those opportunities. I think those are great points. Anything you want to leave everyone with, a tip, how to avoid cabin fever, anything to get through this COVID quarantine that you would like to share with anyone that might be watching?
Yeah, well, the both of us live in Florida, so we have 90-degree weather and pools out back. So it's a little different than my Canadian friends, growing up, still many of them in the snow. But we're all in this together. I mean, it's times like this that, we come together. All the things that might have divided us in the past, kind of get swept away when we start thinking about the health and safety of our family and our friends, our colleagues, our customers, everyone within our broader community. And, for those, follow obviously the best advice of the smartest people you can find and listen to. And, as an industry, this is an essential industry. This is an industry that's going to create and help drive this new normal. And, it's scary times, but it's exciting times. And, for us, it's unprecedented for anyone alive today.
Yep.
What we're going through.
Yep.
And, how we come out of this and how the industry responds to this, I think will be defining for the rest of our careers until we retire.
I could not agree with that more. And I will leave it at that, because I think that that was beautifully said. And I do agree, we're in this together, and it is scary but exciting. That's where opportunities come, and it's all about how you respond. So Jay, thank you so much for joining me today. Always great to see you, and we will talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you so much.